Om 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 Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Samasta Janakalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Hari Om. We are in the fourth stanza of Sri Dakshinamurti's Stotram in the series of Vision of Vedanta. So, Tattvamasi, the words Tat and Tvam were described in the other three verses earlier. In this one, what is the connection between the two? Tat and Tvam, that and you, the Brahman and Atman. Verse number 4. Nana chitra ghatodharasthitamaha deepa prabhabhaswaram jnanam yasya tu chakshuradi karana dvara bahi spandate janamiti tameva bhantam anubhati etat samastam jagat tasmai shri guru murtaye namaidam shri dakshina murtaye. So what is the discussion in this chapter? Consciousness in the individual and the reality behind this whole universe is one and the same. The Atman in the individual and the Brahman, which is the substratum, are not two different things. This realization of the oneness between Atman and Brahman is the means for liberation. If I want complete liberation from movement, change, modification, then I must realize the oneness between Atman and Brahman. So this will only give me freedom from all imperfections and from all experiences of change. This Atman is what gives us satta. It gives existence to something, and spurana, it gives illumination. If there is a tumbler here, the tumbler exists. This existence is given by Atman. If there is no awareness, then I will not know about the existence of this tumbler. Spurana, this tumbler reveals itself as a tumbler. So that is because of the presence of the Atman, Satta and Spurana. When objective scientists, they say the world is existence, while subjective scientists, philosophers, they say world has existence. World is not existing. The world is not revealing itself with energy, with power. It is the Atman that lends existence to the world. That is the reason why the moment we close our eyes and go to sleep, even though the world is there, we are not aware of its existence because we are not expressing through the Atman and seeing the world during those moments, or experiencing the world through our sense organs. Nana chidra ghataha udara Sthita Gatodhara Nana Chidra Gatodhara Sthita Mahadeepa Prabha Bhaswaram. There are very beautiful lamps everywhere, especially when you go to the Mahabalipuram area in the beaches in Chennai. It's a very ethereal thing. There will be many pots with beautiful designed holes, and inside those pots, bulbs will be kept, or lamps can be lit. The light of the lamps will express through the pot, and it will look very, very beautiful. In the same way, there is this light of consciousness inside, and it expresses through the holes in the face. What are the holes? The eyes, two nostrils, four, one mouth, 5, 6 and 7, 2 ears, and then the numerous pores in the skin, through the skin. Consciousness or light of awareness goes out of the body. In the same way, it's an example, it's a simile. Jnanam yasyatu chakshuradi karana dwara bahispandate. Just like the light of the lamp expresses through the holes in the lamp and gives beauty. There is a lamp behind. From far, you're seeing it as one big. Actually, the lamp there has got many holes. It is a glass. It is made of glass beads that are tied together into a globe, and through that, the light of the lamp is coming out. But since it's glass, it looks like one lamp. Otherwise, if it's a mud pot, we can very clearly see the darkness and the light. The difference will be there. Jnanam yasyatu chakshuhu adikarana. Through the eyes and other sense organs, jnana or consciousness expresses itself. Dwara, through the eyes, through the sense organs. Bahihi spandate. It is a light of awareness that comes out through the eyes, the vehicle of the mind, traveling on the vehicle of the mind, falls on this tumbler. The mind covers the tumbler and makes itself into a thought, which is the object, which is the shape of this tumbler. The thought has a name, tumbler, and consciousness, there is an agitation caused in the mind because of the presence of this tumbler, and consciousness reflects that agitation and makes the mind to register that it is a tumbler. This is a process of seeing an object. Dwara bahispandate. The whole world outside is operating on these lights. The light of consciousness through the mind falls on the object. When the mind takes the shape of the object, it is a light of consciousness that reflects the object and gives us the thought about the nature of that object. What does the thought do? The thought does not create that object. The thought dispels our ignorance. Thought is like a flashlight which sheds light on the object, and because there is light on the object, the ignorance about the object is dispelled in our mind. Because of the light of the torch, the ignorance of what is there in the darkness is dispelled from our mind. Nana chitra ghataha udarastitamaha deepa prabha bhaswaram. In the empty space of the ghata, in the pot, which has got many beautiful holes around it, through that the light escapes. The deepa prabha, the rays of light, bhaswaram, they shine. Jnanam yasyatu chakshuhu adikarana. In the same way, jnana, knowledge or consciousness, awareness goes out through the eyes and other sense organs. Bahihi spandate. They contact the objects, sense objects. And then what happens? Janami iti. I know. I know this is a tumbler. I know this is a water bottle. I know this is a clock. Janami iti tameva bhantam. What happens? Tameva. That itself, that consciousness itself is shining. Tam means he, bhantam, he himself shines. Consciousness itself shines. And what does it do? Anubhati sarvam etat. It is making everything else, it's revealing everything else. The torchlight shines, and the torchlight, the light of the torch falls on the object, and the torchlight illumines the object. Anubhati etat samastam jagat. This whole world of moving names and forms, thoughts and feelings are illumined by this consciousness. Tasmai, to that consciousness, Sri Guru Murti, the form of the Guru, which is Dakshinamurti, Namaha, I, Idam, Sri Dakshinamurtaye, to that teacher, that revealer of all names, forms, objects, emotions, thoughts, feelings, attitudes, what have you, everything that we know is because of consciousness. Without consciousness, it is not possible to know anything. So to that Dakshinamurti, I prostrate my prostrations. There are many verses in the Upanishads. Sapta pranaha prabhavanti tasmat saptarchishas samidha sapta homaha saptam ime loka yeshu charanti pranam guhashaya nihita sapta sapta. From the Mundaka Upanishad, the Upanishad says this idea is described very beautifully. 7 flames, sapta pranaha, shoot out through the 7 holes in the face, which means the sense organs. And from him are born 7 pranas, the 7 flames, the 7 fuel, the 7 oblations, homa, as also the 7 worlds, where the prana moves in the cave of the living creatures, 7 and 7. Everything happening in the number 7 because of the presence of 7 sense organs. 5 sense organs, but taking into the differences of the 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, and 2 ears. So the stimuli of the world outside, Indriya Vishaya. Indriya Vishaya means object of sight, object of sound, object of smell, object of taste, and object of touch. They are contacted by this intelligence which rides on the mind. Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmaya ji uses this very often. Consciousness, intelligence, riding on the mind, contacts the objects, mold the mind into the exact shape of the objects, and the mind is disturbed by the stimuli. Consciousness is just light. The mind is knowledge, the capacity to know. When that light and mind, like a sheet, 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 cover the object, fill the object, there is an object that is born there, and that object causes an agitation. It's a thought agitation, it is called vritti. That agitation is also illumined by consciousness. When the existence and knowledge aspect of the self are blending, the thought wave of the intellect arises. When there is no difference between the existence, it is, and it reveals. When these two blend together, then an agitated thought wave arises called I know. Every wave of thought is illumined by the awareness, and when the light of consciousness illumines the thought waves, they become my experiences. Janami iti. I know. I have this experience through consciousness and the mind, the thought. This act of illumining objects is not a function of consciousness. It is not function of the self. Just like the sun is not doing the job of illumining everything. To illumine everything is the nature of the sun. In the same way, to illumine everything as knowledge is the nature of consciousness. It is very interesting to follow the close observations and conclusions arrived at by the Rishi in this ordinary activity of knowing. How much the Rishis have given a thought to all this, to study so much, to understand about this process of consciousness, of thought, and give that knowledge to us. I know, I know, I know. Every object that we see, we are all, the same process is happening. Consciousness expressing through the mind, through the senses, falling on the object. The mind takes the form of the object, creates an agitation, and consciousness reflects that thought in the mind. Janami iti. Once every moment to moment, I know, I know, I know is the experience. After that experience is over, the consciousness is having it as a memory. Jnatam maya. It was known by me. In the present tense, it is I know. In the past tense, it becomes a memory. When all agitations have ended, and when the purified intellect, Sat Buddhi, is constantly contemplating about the great statements of the Mahavakya, I am Brahman, Aham Brahma Asmi, with no other distracting thought currents, it is experienced as veiled perfection, Savikalpa. The Atman is Kalushita. There are many impurities in the Atman. There are many distractions because we are looking out at everything through the body and through the senses, identifying with the senses. So we are collecting the information from the objects with that identity, and hence it is Kalushita, it is very disturbed. But when the agitations have settled, in the mind, there is one pointed concentration, and consciousness expresses through that thought and collects data from the world, then it is Savikalpa. It is there is a perfection, but it is not complete. There is a thought in that. But even when the meditation and the meditated upon, when the triputi or the distinction between consciousness, the process of consciousness going out, and the consciousness falling on the object and reporting back as a thought, when this process has ended, then it becomes nirvikalpa. There is no thought and there is only consciousness. This experience of pure perfection is dimmed by agitations, which is rajas, and darkened by inertia, which is tamas. These gunas constitute this rajas and tamas are the cause for avidya or ignorance. To come out of that ignorance, we have to quieten the mind through sadhana, rajas, and remove awaken the mind from tamas, from sleep. When that happens through sadhana and in sattva, in that pure concentrated mind, when the truth is known through the process of Shravanam is listening, Mananam is reflecting, listening removes the ignorance of the truth. I don't know is removed by Shravanam. I know but I have doubts. The doubts are cleared by mananam, and even if I know and I don't have any doubts, I'm not able to realize that self within because there is this identification of I as the body, the erroneous perception that is removed with nidhidhyasanam. This is this Parameshwara, this consciousness, which is the supreme teacher. Who is a teacher? Somebody who throws light to awaken us to the knowledge of the subject is a teacher. And here, this consciousness is throwing light of its consciousness through the mind on the object and reveals that object to us as a thought and makes us understand and removes our ignorance of that object, which is the self. To that Dakshinamurti, I prostrate. So we will look into the fifth stanza next week. Tomorrow, we will conclude with this month for Vision of Vedanta, Tripti Deepa. Om Sarvesham Swastirbhavatu, Sarvesham Shantirbhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, Om Asato Mam Sadgamaya, Tamasorma, Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma, Amritam Gamaya, Om Purnamadav Purnamidam, Purnat Purnamudachyate, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnameva Vashishyate, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Harihi Om. Boliye Shri Sadgurunath महाराज की जय। हर नमः पार्वती पतये, हर हर महादेव, हरि ओम।